Hi, my name is Ivan Linares, and these are my slides. Mexican Miracle. By 1940, people of Mexican descent in the U.S. were twice as likely to have been born and raised in the States than there were that were not. Often the children of immigrants who had entered in the previous decades were strongly identified with the country of their birth state. Massive Mexican-American participation in World War II, and the most recent estimate being that some 500,000 Mexican Americans served in the conflict. Most Mexicans were born into World War II. Mexicans were forced to be like Americans. For example, like one military soldier had put his hands in his pockets because he was cold, and the other soldiers told him, Americans don't put their hands in their pockets or hide them, and he had never been referred to as an American ever before. The effects. Governments agreed to recruit more than 300,000 Mexicans to work low-paying agricultural jobs. During the war, Mexico provided more strategic resources, vital minerals such as copper, zinc, and mercury. The United States helped to develop industries that were vital in helping to support the war. Miraculous growth were grounded firmly in Mexico's participation in World War II. So after World War II, the United States offered to help develop industries that were vital in helping to support the war. Results. Many Mexican soldiers died. Mexican farmers signed up to work in the United States after the war. Mexico lost a lot of minerals and utilities because they were the only Latin country that was supporting the United States during World War II. Mexico was the only Latin country to aid the U.S. during World War II. Even though they lost minerals and people, they still got help from the U.S. because the U.S. helped them manage and build different buildings and utilities for Mexico after the World War II. The negatives. Mexicans were forced to act like Americans. They were forced out of their racial ways. Latino workers and farmers joined the war. Even Latinas had to join in the battle. Out of all the Mexicans who served, about 1,500 died, and most disappeared. So out of all the Mexicans that joined the army, 1,500 either died or disappeared without anybody being able to find them or knowing what happened to them. Positives. Mexico got help from the U.S. after the war. Latino and Latinas got jobs in the U.S. About 4.6 million contracts were signed for workplaces in the U.S., and the U.S. paid for the reconstructions. Going back to the negatives, one incident was when a Mexican American that was awarded the Medal of Honor had passed away. They shipped his remains to the U.S., but they refused to let them use the chapel because somehow they didn't practice, or they made some excuses about them not being able to use the chapel because they were Mexicans. The worst outcomes. Many lives were sacrificed during World War II. Mexico had to deal with the political wars, and a lot of fights and arguments broke out. Mexico lost almost all their minerals because they were the only ones that were aiding the U.S. in World War II. and Mexico lost a lot of land. In conclusion, thousands of Mexican soldiers lost their lives, including women, in the war. Mexico also was pretty much the only Latin country aiding the United States with minerals for the war. After the war, almost 4.6 million work contracts were signed for men and women to work in America.